some of you know that this is particularly true in the South. Where I come from, where Fran comes from, there's a term that's used for truth you can really count on. Truth you can be certain of. When somebody says something to you and they say, it's the gospel truth, you know it's true. And as we will be looking for the next several months at the words of Jesus, they are gospel truth. And that is two things. Number one, it's the truest truth there is. But number two, they come from the gospel. The gospel means good news. And the good news that was written by these men is really, really good news. And there are four gospels, and they have four different perspectives. And the first one is the Gospel of Matthew. Matthew was a Jewish tax collector who was working for the Romans, and Jesus invited him to leave the table and to follow Jesus. And really incredible if you know something about the perspective that the Jews had for tax collectors. Tax collectors basically would rake in as much as they could from the people. They would give to Rome what Rome had asked for, and they would keep the rest. They worked on commission. And so his gospel was written with more of a Jewish perspective. Mark is interesting because Mark was John Mark, and you remember that on Paul's first missionary journey, it was Paul and John Mark and Barnabas. And Mark bailed on them. Things were getting too hot. There was too much opposition. Mark said, I'm going home. And that really angered Paul so much so that on the second missionary journey, he and Barnabas couldn't agree about taking Mark the second time. And what it ended up, Barnabas saying, the son of consolation, the son of encouragement, Barnabas, he said, I'll tell you what, you go, and you and Silas go on your journey, and Mark and I will go together and do church planting work. Later on, there was a reconciliation, and Paul said, bring Mark. And so it says something about Paul's character and how he grew over the years and how he got to a place that he could forgive and he could be reconciled with Mark. Luke is a book. Luke authored two books, the Gospel of Luke and the Book of Acts. And the Book of Acts in particular is interesting because you will read day and day and day and day. To a certain point, I think it's around chapter 16, he starts to say, we and we. So apparently Luke joined up with Paul, and they did ministry together. And he wrote down what he saw. But remember, there's a lot in the early chapters of Luke about the birth of Christ. And a lot of scholars believe that Mary was Luke's source for that information. And then finally, the book of John, one of the disciples of Jesus, James and John, the sons of thunder, but also the sons of Zebedee. They were a bit impetuous. And his emphasis was Jesus, the Son of God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And so John had that perspective. And he wrote his personal experiences and observations. And that just gives you a little gospel context. Yeah. It was probably Mark was first, and it's usually considered to be the earliest. Like, Matthew and Luke were a lot more developed, than Mark. I'll have to check that might take, but I think that's true. Mark's gospel is interesting too because of the pace. Immediately, they were there. And immediately they did that. And it was very fast paced, sort of 16 chapters, and that's a good question. One of the things to keep in mind is, and we'll wrap up in just a couple of minutes, but one of the things to keep in mind is all four Gospels do not absolutely word for word agree. There's four different perspectives. And I remember learning a number of years ago from a law enforcement officer that if they interview, say, four witnesses and they all say the same thing, that's when they're suspicious. Because everybody sees things differently. Every point of view is a view from a point. And people look at things differently, they see them differently, they recall them differently. And so, don't let it bother you that you may see quote-unquote discrepancies or contradictions. But what you see is a broad narrative about the life of Jesus. What they all agree on was that he was born of a virgin and he lived a life and he did miracles and he was betrayed and he went to the cross and he was raised from the dead. Which is interesting too, because it wasn't that he rose from the dead, but he was raised from the dead. So again, that's a bit of perspective. Let me see. Fine. What I want to do here. Yeah. Good. Let me just say a few things introductorily about the second best prayer. And I'll tell you later the best prayer, but this is the second best prayer. And I'm going to look at the different phrases here. And we start with our. The Lord teach us to pray. Our Father. Not my Father. And he could have said my Father, and that would not have been inaccurate. Our Father. The first step of the 12 steps of AA. We have come to believe that we are powerless over alcohol and that our lives have become unmanageable. Again, not singular. Even though you as a single individual will affirm. We have come to believe. Our Father. Our faith is personal and individual, but it's not individualistic. It's not just about you, but it's about you and me and God connected to one another. What the theologian Martin Buber called the I-thou relationship. That you and I are a part of this community of faith that dates back 2,000 years, people from all over the globe throughout history. Our Father. Remember, God said in Genesis, it's not good for the human to be alone. And that is true in our personal relationships, but it's also true in terms of the faith community. To be alone. We're not made to live our faith alone. We're not designed to live our faith individualistically. I don't need you, me and God. One of the books I'm reading right now is Adam's Return by Richard Rohr. And it's a book that I only read a few pages a day because it's rich. But simple sentence that jumped off the pages. Without a group, nothing goes very deep or lasts very long in the spiritual life. That is so true. lifestyle and relatedness is more important than words. Or as Francis of Assisi is supposed to have said, preach the gospel at all times and when necessary use words. We may reach out through media and technology or through our written or spoken message, but we finally transform and initiate each other through who we are. Transformed people tend to transform people. In fact, we tend to be able to lead people only as far as we ourselves have gone. It is relationships that change us much more than ideas. We cannot really do something until we have seen someone else do it. It cannot yet enter our mind as a possibility. You do not know what patience is until you have met one truly patient person. You do not know what love is until you have observed how a loving person loves. What power we have for one another, for good and for ill. Thus, rites of passage were communal rites, led by elders and father figures, and not sermons or a series of questions and answers. Very low-risk encounters and forms of education which the churches have relied upon for centuries. We are changed through relationships. A relationship with Christ, which is supported and encouraged in our relationship with one another. Our Father. One of my favorite words among all the words in the dictionary is the word encapsulated. Several years ago, my neurologist, Dr. John Schwartz, after taking out my kidney and having it biopsied, said that the cancer in the kidney was encapsulated. But our egos are encapsulated. You ever think about that? Encapsulated behind protective defenses. But relationships with mature and even more mature followers of Christ can penetrate these defenses and break the false self, the me-centered part of me, what Ezekiel called a hard heart, and replace that with a God-centered heart. But our risk to the ego, our risk to the self, our risk, ironically, to the false self scares us. And the reality is that the false self has to die, so that our true self in Christ can be born. And death to self, death to the ego, is a prerequisite to new life, according to Jesus. Our Father, our Abba, Aramaic word. And when you think about this, I don't know of any religion in the world that refers to God as Abba, Father, or Abba. Muslims don't even have a word for Allah that can be translated Father. But Abba, Daddy, or Papa. Can you imagine? He is our Abba. Our Abba. The loving Father not only awaits, but he actively works and seeks the lost son or daughter to welcome us back. Our Abba. You sung all the songs on my list. Don't have any more, right, guys? No more songs, ladies. But let's just end it here. then pick up from here next week as we continue to look at the gospel truth and in particular our Lord's Prayer. Let's pray. Lord, thanks for this night, this time. Thanks for giving us an opportunity to worship. Our souls have been enriched. Thanks for your word that reaches and teaches. Thanks for where you want to take us. To places of still water and green grass where we are comforted by love. Not just after we pass from this world, but even now, may we have those moments, those experiences of grace and love and mercy. And now may the grace, the sheer, perfect, incredible grace of our God and the sacrificial, enduring, unconditional love of His Son Jesus and the joy poured into our hearts in the Holy Spirit go with us all.